Yeah, hi, this is Ed from MetaDreams. I just want to give you an intro to MetaChecker Soccer using Tabletop Simulator. MetaChecker Soccer is based on the classic game that I invented called MetaCheckers. When you look at the rules, and I'll show you to, there's a lot to the rules here. And then we've got dice roll cards here. But it's really actually a very simple concept. Meta checkers is basically chess played with checkers, where the checkers, and here they are, here's our checkers. The checkers make chess moves based on the roll of the special dice. So this is the chess die, this is the numbers die, the classic D6, and you basically uh, click on these and roll, and you roll the bishop 2. That means that you can move your checker as a bishop for 2 spaces. And in the classic game, the idea is you're trying to capture the king checker. In this game, MetaChecker Soccer, the king checker is now the goalie for the team. And then we have the checkers, um, who are the other players of the team. And the whole goal of MetaChecker Soccer is to get the checker with possession of the ball into the goal. Who is the checker with the ball? Well, on the underside of each of these checkers, changing its state here, boom. This now is the checker that has possession of the ball, and you're trying to get it into the goal on the other side of the field. And let's see, and I'm just deploying my players here. As a player of this game, you are the coach of your own soccer team, and you decide how you want to set up your players. And I'm doing a very simple format here, which is basically um, our front line with the center and the wings, and then we have our midfielders, and then we have our defenders. Um, and in the classic game of meta checkers, you're only moving one checker at a time. In this game, you can actually move as many checkers as you want uh, uh, under the roll of the dice. And let's see. And so here's the opposing checkers. This is the dark checkers, and so I'm going to deploy them, and you'll get to see how this goes. So again, we've got the center and the wings, and we've got the midfielders and the defense. And so there is no one correct way of doing this. Um, you as the coach of your team can just decide how it's going to go. Now, uh, how do you score the goals? Um, okay, so basic concepts here. Whenever there is a challenge for possession or it has to be decided, each player gets their own D6 die, and so they roll off against each other to see who goes first on offense. So in this case, okay, so the light checkers roll the 3. So we're going to see what the dark checkers roll. There we go. The dark checkers are going to roll 6. So in this case, dark checkers start off with the ball. So we're going to change our possession to that side. So we're going to move these guys back because if they're going to be on defense, they're going to start off here. And now I'm going to move these guys up. So we want to change state of this one to 1. So now this guy is the one with possession of the ball. Now, over here we've got how the dice rolls work. You'll notice that there is another die there. It's called the risk die, and it's this one here. Um, and with that guy, this is something that you use only on offense, and it's only used on the checker that has possession of the ball. This will allow you to take risks and try to make some things, some extra moves happen in the game, because you may get stalemated just making the regular rolls with the chess die and the numbers die, and this will allow you to do other things. But like I say, we're going to start off with dark checkers having possession of the ball. So they're going to take the chess die and the numbers die. And again, the basic concept is that you can move as many checkers as you want according to the roll of the dice. You don't want to move all of them probably because like you want to leave, for instance, you want to leave your defenders where they are because you're going to need them if there's an attack on your goal. Okay, so we had rolled off for who goes on offense. The dark checkers have won. They have possession of the ball. They get to go first. So we are going to take the chess and the numbers die to start, and they're going to go. They're going to roll first. So roll, and they've got a bishop 1, which is rather boring roll to get for your first try, but it just means that they can move as many checkers as they want as a bishop for 1 square. So that's going to be pretty simple. They're going to be, let's just have them try to move their way forward. All right. Oh, and we got a checker on top. All right, there we go. Okay, so now it's defense, the white checker's turn. So they're going to roll. Now they've rolled bishop 4. Okay, so couple of concepts here. Now in chess and check and MetaCheckers, you capture the opponent's piece and take it off the field. You can't do that in soccer. That's not part of the game. So instead of capturing the checker, you're going to capture the position. So, for instance, this guy can move as a bishop for 4 spaces. He's probably want to go someplace like here, so he might encounter this guy, and instead of capturing him, we're going to move him back 1 square, and he's going to go 1 square. And the same thing, this guy could go here, so he's going to push this guy back here, and he's going to capture that square. We're not saying that the soccer players are actually shoving each other, it's just that they're dominating. Now, with a checker with possession, when you've got a defending checker whose chess roll puts them within range of the checker with possession, we can try to steal it. So this guy is going to come in and try to steal the possession from this checker. And how is it resolved? Just like with everything else in MetaChecker soccer, if there's a challenge for possession, the numbers dice will determine the possession. So dark checker rolls. They roll a 1. Light checker rolls. They got a 5. So in this case, the light checkers has won in this little battle for possession of the ball. This means that this dark checker now changes back to no possession, and then its coach it decides to put it on an adjoining square. This guy takes the space and possession of the ball, and we change him to showing possession. And now possession has changed, so the light checkers immediately start with rolling on offense. Roll. So they got bishop 5. So, so what can they do with bishop 5? So the checker with possession can go forward, and he can push this guy back 1. He can't. This guy can't push this one because this one is blocking him. So this one is stuck that way, but he can still go this way. So he can go 1, 2, 3, 4. He would stop because he's hit the edge of the field. So he does not have to go out of bounds, even though he's got more numbers on the die. Otherwise, he does have to go as many spaces uh, as on the numbers die until you hit something like an opposing player. So we're going to see what else we can do. We want to give our checker with possession some help. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. This one here can push this guy back 1 and go here. And this one here is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So you can move as many checkers as you want according to the roll of the dice, but each checker can only be moved once. And each checker can only be, each of the opposing team's checkers can only be moved, can only be pushed once. Okay, so now it is time for dark checkers to take their turn. So let's move, I'm going to move them over here. Let's get these more out of the way for now. And we're going to go, okay, so now we're going to roll. Okay, they got bishop 6. So bishop 6 means that the dark checkers can now do a lot of moving around. Now, there's an attempt to steal. Obviously, this guy can try to steal. But in the meantime, you want to move your other checkers first before you go for the steal, because this attempt to steal is the last thing you do on your turn. Okay? So we're going to bring some guys into position to try to help out the situation. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 1, 2, 3. Stopped by his teammate. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So, and last turn of the move is to try to attempt to steal. So again, we've got uh, the dark checker numbers die and the light checker number die. So the dark checker is going to roll. He gets a 1. Roll. And gets a 1. So when it's a tie, the idea is to steal the possession, you have to be better than the guy who already has the ball. So a tie fails. That means this checker now is moved back by its player. Uh, the uh, the coach for his team moves him back to an adjoining square, and white gets to go again on offense. So now it's white's turn to roll. I'm going to try something here because I want to show you how this risk die works. So let's put these over here for now, and we're going to use the risk die. Now it's called the risk die because you're taking a chance. You can make things happen. There are 4 good things that can happen, but there are 2 bad things that can happen. One of the bad things is you could lose possession of the ball. The other bad thing is you could get a penalty depending on how the dice go. So let's see how this goes. Yes, you got a penalty. So let me show you. Penalty 6. Oh my gosh. That is a bad thing to have happen. So if you get that whistle, that's a penalty. And then down here, if you can read in the blue there, it says penalty numbers die determines the severity. So 1 or 2, it's an indirect kick. Number 3 or 4, direct kick. That'd be for the opposing team. 5 would be a penalty kick, and a 6 is an expulsion, which means that you have lost one player from the field. So this checker with possession is now off the field. So we've rolled double knight. Double knight means that you can move like a knight twice. Now, again, the risk die is only for the checker with possession. It's only on offense, so that means that this checker with possession can move like a knight twice. So imagine that you're on the soccer field and you give it a kick and some weird twist happens and the ball gives a couple of crazy hops. That's what we're going to get to do. So this is going to give, so let's think about this. Where would you want to land up if you have this wrist die? You could land up here. You could, you could go here and then here, and then you could go. I'm just trying to think it out. Well, all right. I'll tell you what. I'm just going to go one hop, and then I did that right. Right. 1, 2. Okay. So now that sort of puts us right in line for the goal. Okay. So now it's time for defense to roll. And they can't use the wrist die. They just want to have to roll and try to get a chance to steal. So roll. They get the knight. Numbers die does not count when it's king, knight, or pawn. We're gonna. All they can do is move as a knight. They can't. They don't have anything that's within range or able to hit the checker with possession as a knight. And they're in a lot of trouble because when they were running up on the ball before, now all those players are behind them. So we need to get as much help as we can here as we can. So this guy's moving like a knight. This guy's moving like a knight. This guy's moving like a knight. And we're just going to start moving a lot of pieces, trying to get some place. We're trying to give ourselves a little bit more defenders around the ball. All right, so that's, they didn't get a chance to steal, so now they're going to, now light checker is going to roll for what they can do. And they get pawn. So pawn, you can move one space forward as a pawn, you can move diagonal as a pawn, and let's see, yeah, so it sees there, we've added one space forward unless blocked by another piece, or they can go diagonal. Okay? So, but they cannot push a player forward. If they're only going forward, they can only push another player if they are diagonal. Basically, the idea is if it's a situation where in chess or MetaCheckers you would capture the piece, instead of capturing it, you would push them. So since pawns can't capture by going forward, they can't push going forward. So anyway, so this guy gets a pawn, so he can move forward one. This guy can move forward. This guy can move forward. We can actually have a couple guys moving diagonal like this. Maybe we can move one guy forward like this. Okay, so it didn't get to do a lot. Now it is the dark team's chance to roll, and they get pawn. So so this guy cannot capture, so he cannot try to steal the ball. So all we can do is just we can just move one forward up. We could, pawns only go forward, they can go diagonal. There isn't that much else you can do. So, sorry, dark team. Okay, it is now light checker's chance for the ball. Light checker's roll is bishop 4. Okay. So we can move checkers as bishops for 4. So we can, this one can go 1, 2, 3, 4. This one can go 1, 2, 3. This one can go 1, 2, 3, 4. This one can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right. Now, just a little note here. If you're, I'm figuring if you like this game, you probably know a lot about soccer already. Just want to remind you, this is now an offside situation. As I understand offsides, that means that you cannot receive a pass if you are past the last defender, aside from the goalie. But if you get there on your own with possession of the ball, you're okay. Um, so, he's going to have a hard time. Well, let's just see how it goes. So dark checkers now are going to have their role. And they get king. So king is 1 space in any direction. And it's too bad this checker here isn't the one with possession, because um, that would mean this goalie could come out and try to take the ball, but he doesn't. So I think what I'm just going to do is I'm going to try to get more of my defenders in here, and I'm going to have them sort of crowd them a little bit. Okay, dark checker's turn. They get a knight. So he can't pass it off to any of his teammates, but this does allow him to come around like this, and maybe we can have some of his other teammates come in and try to help. So we got a big crowd here in front of the goal. This is more like uh, a youth soccer team. But anyway, here we go. And they get queen for 1. I think really the only thing you want to do here is the goalie wants to capture the ball. So since the goalie is now 1 space away and can reach that ball by that roll, queen 1, so we can have the goalie come out. Now, again, we have a challenge for possession. Who's going to win this? So we have dark checkers are going to have to roll, and light checkers are going to roll. So the dark checkers roll is a 1, and the light checkers roll is a 5. So the goalie's attempt to take the ball fails. He now has to step back 1 square. And he could have actually put it in any adjoining square, but the player wisely chooses to put it there. So he doesn't have, this guy does not have a direct shot at the goal, so we're going to have to see how it goes. So now we've got light checker's chance to roll. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not how we do it. We don't roll those 2, we roll the chess and the numbers die. So light checkers have a chance to roll. And they get knight, which actually puts it into the goal. So light checkers have scored the goal, and that could be the end of the game. There's a different ways of playing this. One is you just play until the first person gets a goal. I got that rather quickly, probably because I'm playing myself and maybe I'm not challenging both sides of it. But I'm just trying to show you how it works. Now, if you wanted to play it a different way, you could agree ahead of time to use the timer, and that is this sucker down here. And the idea is that with every play, you move the timer 1 square, and you can decide ahead of time that the game would be over when you reach this square. or this square, or this square, all the way around, or all the way around the board, and whoever has the most skulls by then. But I gotta tell you, from my experience, you have a pretty long game, good long game of a lot of back and forth with just trying to play to who gets the first goal. Okay, so more in the next video.